Hello everyone, Phantoms Y back with some more G-Senjou no Maou. Last time, we had not only Hiroaki return home, but also Tsubaki confessed to Kyosuke. So, a very productive episode happened last time. And now the question for Kyosuke is how does he respond to Tsubaki? And, what happens from here, being that it seems that Tsubaki's family will be moving out, the kidnappers return Hiroaki. He thinks he can just go back to his normal life. Is that going to be the case? What's going to happen from here? What's up with Usami? Blah, blah, blah. The questions just keep coming. So, let's find out. Ellipses happen, apparently. Hello, Gonzo. The next morning, I was summoned by Gonzo. He suddenly brought this up during breakfast. Pardon? Yes. Gonzo smirked. No, she looks to be trouble, so... Gonzo was unsatisfied with my answer. I'm perfectly aware of what needs to be done. Though the kidnapping incident is over, we can't say for sure that the police are going to stay silent. Judging by how Tsubaki acted yesterday, I don't think there will be any problems for a while. When that time comes, I will take responsibility. If it really turns out that way, God knows what Gonzo will do to me. I laid down my chopsticks and slowly sipped the tea. It's been a pleasure as always, sir. As I prepared to leave, Gonzo stopped me. Practice? This was the first time Gonzo had invited me. In other words, he's going far away to a shooting range. With real bullets and real guns, of course. Well, I'm thankful for the invitation, but... I'm sorry, but I have an appointment this afternoon with people from Sano. Gonzo didn't make another sound. If that's all... Yes. I've been working non-stop since this morning. I've finally gotten a chance to breathe after the discussion with Sano. Let's go home and get some sleep. I spotted a familiar face amidst the crowd. Tsubaki! She looked around, trying to spot me. Her brother was with her. Are you going shopping? That's great. Hiroaki's smile was perfectly identical to the one when we first met. There was no sign of any emotional scars from the kidnapping. It might be due to the presence of her brother, but her nervousness from yesterday had vanished completely. A cell phone. You know, they're really... Yeah. I think she said something like there wasn't a need for one before. I don't really remember. Right, the dead of winter is just around the corner. Perhaps she took our conversation from yesterday to heart. Hiroaki pulled on Tsubaki's sleeves with his tiny arms. Eh? Well, I certainly do have some time. She's a little forceful today. Hiroaki was already pouting. Okay, let's go. I'm no good when it comes to kids. 1 second here. Sorry about that. Still have still have to cough up a lung every now and then. We just finished our shopping at a nearby department store. Apparently, Hiroaki couldn't wait to assemble his new plastic model.
まだお姉ちゃんの買い物が終わってないんだよ。もうちょっと回らせてよ。お願い。
Looks like her gentle words pacified him for the time being. What clothes are you buying? Coats?
特に決めてないけど。
We continue to leisurely stroll about Central Boulevard. I led Tsubaki to several boutiques.
浅井くんってお店に詳しいんだね。
Nah, anyone from school would know as much as I do.
私がちょっと田舎ちゃんなだけ？
Heiichi would be able to help you out a lot more than me in this area.
そっか。H くんってだから女の子に人気があるんだね。いろいろ聞いてみようっと。
Well, have you made up your mind?
あ、どうしようかな。
How about the duffel coat we just saw?
もう一周してもいい？
Sure, why not? Hiroaki followed us obediently. I found out the hard way just how agonizingly long girls take to shop.
ねえ、お姉ちゃん、まだ？
We've been out for long enough.
お姉ちゃん、いつもはパパッと決めちゃうのにどうしたの？ごめんね。なんか目移りしちゃって。
I know what you mean. Let's go buy the cell phone first then. Wait, there's a chance she might be confused by all the models of cell phones too.
僕もう帰りたいよ。もうちょっとだけね。やだ、疲れたよ。
Hiroaki started acting like a spoiled brat.
もう一人でも帰る。
Tsubaki turned pale.
分かったよ。ごめんね、ひろあき。だから一人で帰るなんて言わないで。
Tsubaki looked at her brother. Her feelings during the kidnapping must still be vivid in her mind.
いいよ。
Excuse me.
もうちょっとだったらいいよ。え？
When all is said and done, they really are I was about to say brother and sister, but they're good siblings.
そう？いいの？
Tsubaki asked him cautiously. I thought for sure she would have decided to just go home with him.
じゃあ。
Tsubaki walked towards the cell phone shop, but she shuffled about apprehensively.
帰ろっか。お家に帰ろう。
It sounded like she was convincing herself. Oh, excuse me. Throat's acting up again. My cell phone is ringing. It's Usami. Do you mind if I answer it? Tsubaki gestured for me to go on. What's the matter?
いや、浅井さん。今バイト終わりました。
Huh?
ところで、今晩どうすか？
Stop trying to invite me like an old man.
夕飯まだなんでしょ？
The invitations just keep coming today. It's not bad to live a decadent day from time to time. Sounds good. Where to?
じゃあ、駅前の300円ラーメンでいいですか？
It doesn't really matter. I'll call you back later.
はい。
She hung up.
どうしたの？
Nothing. I'm going to eat ramen with Usami later.
あ、そうなんだ。
What's wrong?
いや、今日はご飯用意するつもりだったから。
Really?
うん。付き合ってくれたお礼に。
One second. Alright. Well, I'll call her back then.
断るの？
Nah, I just thought we could call Usami and up and dine together. Is that okay?
ああ、うん。
She's like, damn it. Tsubaki's eyes moved about anxiously.
はるちゃんとは昨日喧嘩しちゃったしな。
I would hardly call that an argument. Though it did end on a bad note. Would you rather me not call Usami?
うん、そんな仲間外れみたいなことできないよ。
Tsubaki smiled gently. Alright, I'll go ahead and call her back then. I reached for my cell phone and dialed as I finished.
はいはい。自分もう向かってますよ。
Oh, the thing is, I'm with Tsubaki right now, so
お断りしておきます。
I haven't even finished my sentence.
椿の家でご飯っていうプランでしょ。お断りしておきます。
Why? Let go of that thing from yesterday already.
いいえ。ただ、私は椿に近寄らない方が賢明なのではないかと。
Is that so?
わからないでもないでしょ。
Tsubaki is romantically interested in me. She thinks Usami likes me too. Maybe Usami picked up on that little snippet as well.
では自分、このまま帰ります。
This time, it was Usami's turn to hang up on me. She went home.
どうして？
It sounded like something came up. And anyway, your house is all the way in the Eastern District. It'd be too far out of the way for her to just eat dinner. I lied without even blinking.
本当に私に気を使ってくれたんじゃないの？
I don't think so.
本当？嘘ついてないよね。
Yes, he is. I was quite astonished. The small feeling I had that something was wrong had grown into certainty. I don't remember Tsubaki ever actually suspecting me. This girl has really changed a bit.
姉ちゃん。
Tsubaki's brother raised his head to study her expression. Anyway, Usami's not coming. Let's get a move on. I suddenly felt a wave of dizziness.
大丈夫？
Yeah, it's nothing. I caught the flu that's going around, that's all. I tapped my forehead lightly with my fingers. Sorry, but I think I'm going to back out too. I need to go home and get some sleep.
私も浅井くんの家行っていい？お粥とか作るよ。
Sorry about that. Oh, come on. What would you do with Hiroaki? Hiroaki quietly listened to our conversation. They exchanged glances. Don't mind me. You guys get home, alright? Tsubaki finally nodded. Take care. I hurried away from Tsubaki. Something urged me away from her. Whatever Tsubaki had said, it never reached my ears. Tsubaki vision! She was exhausted. Tsubaki thought she might be getting sick.
お父さん、書斎の荷物まとめた？
Her family was busy preparing to move. Tsubaki was taking care of the kids' toys and the books in the bedroom, tying stacks of them together with twine.
ねえ、お父さんたら聞いてるの？
ああ、すまん。今やってるよ。ほら、ひろあき、ちょっとどいてなさい。
Voices bathed in joy poured from the study. Father and his son were happily building the new plastic model together. The tension that Tsubaki's father had accumulated had all but dissipated after Hiroaki's return yesterday. He sat by Hiroaki's side and played with him for hours on end, disregarding his assigned duties. Tsubaki understood his feelings very well, so she held her tongue. She was currently still busy playing the role of her sick mother, taking care of the whole family's chores. She cooked, washed laundry, crooned her siblings to sleep, poured beer for her father, and now spent a few peaceful moments packing up for the move. Suddenly, Tsubaki began to question her endless work.
ほらさえ、ちゃんとお布団で寝てなさい。トイレ？トイレはあっちでしょ。もう。
She used a harsher tone than she meant to. She said things she didn't mean to say. What's happening to me? Nothing should have changed for her. As the eldest daughter of the Miwa family, Tsubaki has always done chores like the cooking and the laundry. Taking care of her siblings for her sick mother was only natural. She'd even gotten a kick out of her father's subtle nagging and complaints back in the day. Tsubaki began to search her thoughts for the reason behind her change. Her wandering mind settled on once more on that man. The unforgettable whispers of the devil assailed her from her memory. I will mold you into a human. He said this to her as she ran around the city with the ransom. After that, they'd secretly rendezvoused twice. In the end, what had Hideраki's kidnapper wanted with Tsubaki? he seemed to have a liking for psychology. As a result, Tsubaki's heart had been scooped out numerous times without her even realizing it. Tsubaki thought that she would like to meet him again someday. If she did, she'd have the chance to take out all of her melancholy on him. She wanted to be a burden on him with the feelings within her which brought forth such anger and regret. But at the same time, Tsubaki felt indescribable uneasiness towards her hatred of another person. At that moment, her prayers were answered. Her cell phone rang. This was the phone the kidnapper had provided her. She had wanted to scrap it, but never managed to, deciding instead to keep it nearby at all times. She pressed it tightly between her hands. After affirming that her family hadn't noticed, she pressed the talk button with hesitation. The receiver remained silent. She quietly said, "Hello?" That strange, familiar voice reached her ears. It was the kidnapper.
わかりました。
She acquiesced to his desires right away. Maybe this was the moment she had been waiting for. Tsubaki walked silently under the winter sky. The criminal had waited for the right time to speak.
はい。監禁されていたことなんて、もうすっかり忘れているみたいに元気です。
監禁だなんてとんでもないな。保護していたようなものだ。トラウマになってしまったらかわいそうだろう。
Was it a joke, or was he serious? The criminal acted as if he had done the boy a favor.
警察には連絡していないだろうな。
もちろんです。
分かっていると思うが、私はまたいつでもお前の家族を絶望の淵に立たせることができる。
The voice permitted no denial. Tongue-tied. Tsubaki took a deep breath and asked,
何の用ですか？もうあなたのことは早く忘れたいんですが。
Lies. She wouldn't be able to forget about this man, even if she tried.
最後に確認しておこうと思ったのだ。
確認？
Tsubaki hailed her breath. The kidnapper continued.
私が憎いか？
He used a provocative tone. Tsubaki's head felt as if she had been pummeled by a blunt object. She found herself tongue-tied.
そうか、憎いか。
Maou laughed with satisfaction.
しかし、私はもうお前の前には現れない。たとえ警察が調べを入れたとしても、私の足取りはつかめないだろう。
Tsubaki's knees nearly buckled under her. This evildoer was about to disappear. Who could she take these suppressed feelings out on?
言っておくが、お前は巻き込まれたに過ぎない。私の真の目的は別のところにあった。
真の目的って何ですか？
わかるだろう。お前の身近な友達だ。
Tsubaki finally understood, and a name escaped her lips.
はるちゃん。
Then, suddenly, the chime of the dial tone echoed in Tsubaki's ear. The devil's whispers vanished into the wind. Only the sound of her own breath reached Tsubaki as she stood there, motionless in the cold.
そんな。
She gripped the cell phone tightly. Her lips quivered and her brow furrowed. An impulse to scream raged in her mind. Dirty emotions gathered in her heart, all directed at a dear friend. That girl likes Kyosuke too, she thought. Tsubaki couldn't control these feelings. Tsubaki decided her past self had indeed been the distorted one. She became the class representative simply because the people had asked her to. She cleaned up her friends when they shirked their duties. She put her young brother as her top priority, spent all her time and allowance on the people around her, and never kept enough money to buy what she herself wanted. She had been granted the stigma of a kind person, and she never thought twice about it. Desire slowly crept into that forced smile of hers. Tsubaki sank into a sea of daydreams. She wanted to wear nicer clothes, to play freely, Desires befitting any girl her age continued to surface in Tsubaki's heart one by one as she slowly returned to her room. The evils of desires. Corruption.
京介ちゃんよ。おい、京介ちゃんよ。
So in the end, Maou finally succeeded in corrupting Tsubaki. Eiichi came up to me first thing in the morning, wrinkling his brow. What is it? Get your face out of mine.
そろそろよ。俺の家でパーティーの時期じゃねえの。
Since when do we party together?
今年からだけどよ。ついに俺ちゃんも爬虫類に手を出したわけだよ。
You're talking about pets now?
とりあえずヘビから行ってみたわけだ。チャーリーって言うんだが、これがまた冬だけあって切なそうなんだよ。
What are you trying to say? You want me to visit Charlie?
エグザクトリーだぜ。
Yep. There's something wrong with this kid.
楽しそうなお話してますね。宇佐美さんも来るかい？お誘いありがとうございます。宴会は地味に好きです。ちゃんとお土産持ってきてね。エ
Of
ビさん
course.
にですか？僕に。死んだバッタとかでいいっすかね？だから僕にだってば。
And with that, class commenced. During class, Usami suddenly turned towards me.
椿来てないっすね。
You're right. Do you think something happened?
昨日ご飯食べたんじゃないんですか？
No, I backed out at the last minute.
椿最近ちょっと疲れ気味だと思うんで心配です。
I agree. She has her upcoming move to worry about as well.
浅井さんのフォローが必要ですね。
Why me?
自分はちょっと敬遠されているみたいなので。
That's true. Tsubaki rolled into school at the crack of noon.
みんなおはよ
I thought she might have come down with the flu or something, but she seems energetic enough. Why so late?
う。何してたの？ちょっと昨日夜更かししちゃって。
Moving preparations?
そんなとこかな。ちょっと日記つけたり本読んでたりしてたの。
You're late because of that? Well, maybe she's just tired.
引っ越しするんだ。どこに引っ越すの？
It's somewhere in the central district, right?
浅井くんの家の近くだよね。
Her voice jumped. It's no more than a 10-minute walk from my place.
嬉しいな。新築のマンションなんだよね。
Yeah. I had the guy show me a really good room.
僕ちょっと残念だな。何が？なんかあそこアットホームな感じがあったからさ。
The smile disappeared from Tsubaki's lips.
でもうちってすごく古いんだよ。隙間風とかすごいし、砂壁だし、ストーブないと寒くてたまらないんだよ。
Wow. Yeah, that would be terrible in the winter.
僕さ、生まれも育ちも都会だからさ、ちっちゃい頃からああいう一戸建ての家に住みたいなーとか思ってたんだよね。そうなの？栄一くんってずっとマンションだったの？
Oh, sorry about that. I thought I muted the mic, but I think I just... I don't think I pressed the button in fully. Sorry about the cough there. I think it recorded anyway, but... Sorry about that.
よく言う鍵っ子だよ。お父さんは単身赴任ばっかりだし、お母さんも夜遅いからね。そうなんだ。
Tsubaki nodded gently.
言ってくれたら今度ご飯作りに行くね。
Well, at least that part of Tsubaki doesn't seem to have changed.
ありがとう。正直寂しい時あるんだよね。
Still, this is the first I've heard of Aichi's family situation.
ちょっとオーバーに言い過ぎちまったから。
Of course.
これいいな。コアピールっつうの。今度はみなしごっていう設定にしようかね。
He never thinks about the consequences, like the long term. It's always just, what can I use to fool people right now? Good luck, Aichi. I was an idiot for sympathizing with him, even for a moment. Now then, lunch break's almost over. I don't have much to do today, so I'll just go home and sleep. My headaches have been awful recently. Just as I was about to leave, Tsubaki called out to me. Something on her face tells me she's about to invite me somewhere.
浅井くん、今日ちょっと寄っていかない？
Tsubaki has been a lot more forward lately. The first time she asked me out, she looked terrified. Wasn't I with you just yesterday?
ダメかな。セントラル街でね、バイオリニストのイベントあるみたいだよ。
Oh, really? On Central?
なんかデパートのイベントでちょっとした演奏会とその後握手会するみたい。
Who's playing?
ね。
Tsubaki flipped through her diary. After hearing the name, my heart began to race. Is it one of those events with free tickets and a chance to get a signature if you buy the CD afterwards?
そうそう、ちっちゃい企画みたいだけど、どうかな？
We're going. My immediate answer made Tsubaki smile happily. But I can't believe you know about such obscure things.
昨日調べたの。
She looks a bit proud of herself. What about Hideaki? Doesn't he have to go to kindergarten?
しばらく休ませてるから、
And the others? I forgot their names.
お父さんが面倒見てくれてる。
They're not important enough to have names in this game. What about moving preparations? Wait, am I nagging you?
準備は夜中やればいいから、最悪明日でもいいしね。
Well then, let's go.
今日は遊びたいの。
Tsubaki clung to my side, smiling flirtatiously. By the time we left the department store, the sky was completely dark. Live performances really are a wholly different experience.
ご満悦だね。CD もちゃんと2枚買ったしね。
Of course. Maybe it's the release of tension after an activity, but the sensation of the chilly air against my flushed cheeks felt great. Thank you, Tsubaki.
また行こうね。
Oh, that reminds me. Didn't you say you were getting a cell phone? Do you want me to come with you?
本当？ありがとう。
But aren't you short on time? It's already 8.
今日は平気だよ。
Really? Previously, she would have gone back by now for sure. But if she says it's okay, then it's probably fine. We casually strolled along the bustling streets. One second, I'm gonna make sure it mutes this time. Okay, there we go. Not coughing anybody's ears off this time. We wandered around town for 2 hours. We bought her a cell phone and had dinner together. Now then,
ねえ浅井くん、次どこ行こうか。
I spoke without thinking. Hey now, it's already 10. Even I want to go home. I don't have a specific job right now, but I have to check my accumulated daily mail.
ゲームセンターとか行く？浅井くんってゲームするのかな？
What happened to you? Tsubaki's attitude bothered me.
何が？
Are you the type to stay out this late? I don't think there are any strings of words as incompatible as Tsubaki and the arcade at night.
そんなことないんじゃない？ほら、よくカップルでぬいぐるみキャッチャーとかしてるじゃない？ああいうのしたいなって思って。
Tsubaki just said, fuck it. What happened to the Tsubaki I once knew? No matter how much she likes me, she's being strangely forceful about wanting to hang out. What, did the night owl in you suddenly awaken?
そうかな？そうかもね。
Tsubaki maintained her playful attitude. It's not like we're doing anything bad. It's not a problem for me to be late for school once in a while, and there's nothing wrong with going to the arcade. Still, something's strange. I heard that once a hard-working person learns to slack off, there's nothing that can cure them. It's actually quite true, I think. I was only half joking, but Tsubaki's expression suddenly became frightful.
なんだかね、遊ぶと気持ちがスッとするの。
Huh?
嫌なこと忘れて遊んでると楽なの。自分でもち ちょっとダメかなって思うんだけどそれがまた気持ちいいの。
Way to drop a bomb.
冗談だよ。
She laughed happily. I think I've only seen that kind of laughter, the kind with her mouth wide open and her teeth shining, recently. Let's just head home. We can go to the arcade next time.
ごめんね無理言って。
It's good to see that she's still as earnest as always.
なんか観察されてるみたいだよ。
It's just your imagination. Let's go. I'll walk you home. She shook her head.
でもね浅井くん、私
She's about to open up again.
今まで我慢しすぎだったのかなって。
Maybe it's that release of tension from having the incident resolved. But she looks like she's been possessed by something.
わざわざありがとう。
The air over here is really nice. I let out a big yawn. I can see a lot more stars out here than I can from my apartment in the central district.
ちょっと上がってく？
If I did, I'd miss the train.
泊まってく？浅井くんならお父さんも許してくれると思う。
Even if your dad allows it, I won't allow it. Don't tell me you were hoping walking to school? You were hoping to walk to school together tomorrow, I think is what they meant.
ダメかな。
If Eiichi and Usami saw us, I don't even want to think about the trouble that would ensue.
はるちゃんはそういうのを冷やかす人なのかな。
I'm not saying she'd make fun of us per se. I just think she'd crack some stupid joke and leave.
何にしてもはるちゃんはちょっとわけわかんない時あるよね。
That she is. Mm-hmm. I'd say so. I knew it. Tsubaki hasn't been getting along with Usami. Well, obviously, dude. You've
そう
seen it.
だ、携帯の番号を交換してもらっていいかな。
Sure. At that moment, I heard footsteps from behind me and turned around. Huh?
あ、お姉ちゃんたちだ。ちょっとひろあき、どこ行ってたの？アイス買いに行ってたんだよ。
In his hand was a convenience store bag.
一人で？うん。何してるの？危ないじゃない。
Tsubaki was furious and closed the distance between herself and her brother.
もうバカ。お父さんは？お父さんなんか忙しいみたいだったからこっそり出たの。
One moment. Okay, sorry.
だからって一人でなんて。
She's freaking out.
お金はどうしたの？お姉ちゃんの貯金箱から借りた。
Her lips were trembling. I could hear her agitated breathing. Tsubaki opened her eyes wide.
ひろあき、お姉ちゃんの気持ちわからない？ひろあきは悪い人にさらわれたんだよ。悪い人じゃなかったよ。悪い人なの。お姉ちゃんたちとっても心配したんだよ。
Maybe Tsubaki had frightened him. Hiroaki quickly became frank.
ごめんなさい。
His little head drooped down. Tsubaki stared at her brother, dissatisfied. My eyes trickled down her arm as it dangled powerlessly at her side. It came upon a tightly clenched fist.
お姉ちゃん。
Maybe Hiroaki has been expectantly waiting for Tsubaki's forgiveness.
あんまり困らせないで。
Maybe, like always, Hiroaki was anticipating Tsubaki's warm embrace.
まったく、お父さんもお父さんだよ。なんでひろあきから目を離すかな。
Tsubaki continued muttering weak complaints.
ごめんねお姉ちゃん。お姉ちゃん困ってるの？
Hey, Tsubaki, calm down a bit.
分かってる。
I finally found an opportunity to intervene.
でもお姉ちゃんだって帰ってくるの遅いよ。お姉ちゃんはいいの。大人なんだから。
Sorry, Hiroaki-kun. I was out playing with your sister, so that's why we were late. things are getting a little complicated, so I try to salvage the situation.
僕、あの馬の人と遊んでもらって楽しかったけど、寂しいことあったんだよ。お姉ちゃんに会えないのは寂しかったんだよ。だからもっと遊んでよ。
Tsubaki didn't nod in response.
引っ越しの準備しなきゃ。
Tsubaki moved her gaze away from Hiroaki. Well then, good night.
また明日ね。
After we exchanged phone numbers, we made some small talk and parted. Tsubaki is reverting into a base being. I wouldn't say that, but, you know, she's definitely losing her major innocence that was kind of her driving characteristic. The unrealistic part of her nature has begun to disappear. Maybe something has been bottling up inside of her all this time. Now that I think about it, she's taking care of such a huge family in place of her sick mother. She has no idea how to have fun. She doesn't know much about the world. This even got her into trouble with a scout once. She always gives people the benefit of the doubt and tries her damnedest for others. What would happen if a person like that broke? Tsubaki means no more to me than any of my other friends from school. She's just a person I can relax with. That's the way it should be. But it seems that our bonds lately have been running a little too deep. I should just go to bed. The headache didn't attack me that night, and I slept soundly. Continuing chapter 2. That's a long chapter 2, right? Alright. Eiichi caught me first thing the next morning.
で、結局パーティーどうするよ。
Oh, he's actually going through with that. It doesn't really matter to me. It's all good as long as I'm free.
なら今日だな。
Well, that's rather sudden.
だって明日は祭日だろ。
Oh, right.
パーティーするの？うんうん、僕んちおいでよ。行く行く。楽しそうだね。
Usami then appeared out of nowhere.
椿、大丈夫か？何が？顔色が悪いぞ。
Indeed, 2 black circles ornamented Tsubaki's eyes.
平気だよ。はるちゃんこそ寝癖ひどいよ。
It always is. Tsubaki responded with a smile. And then about the party.
私、ひろあきを迎えに行ってからだから遅くなる。遅くてもいいよ。ちゃんとお土産持ってきてくれれば。みかんでいいかな。とっても甘いよ。みかん。自分みかん大好き。
What are you, a caveman?
はるちゃんも来るんだね。ああ。
Usami looked troubled at Tsubaki with a serious face.
やめとこうか。なんで？別に来ればいいと思うよ。そっか。
Usami kept silent after that. Should we invite Cannon?
いや、カノンちゃんはスケートの練習に忙しいからよそうよ。別に仲間外れにするわけじゃないよ。
He just hates Cannon. I guess you're right. The tournament's coming up soon. Yet the person in question, Cannon, was napping on her desk.
で、京介くんはお土産何持ってきてくれるのかな？
You have poisonous snakes, right? How about a mongoose?
ハーブじゃないよ。っていうか、マングースなんて持ってこれるもんなら持ってきてよね。
Have I been playing around too much recently? There are no major jobs right now, so it doesn't matter, but still.
浅井くんも来るんだよね。
Tsubaki's pale face worries me. Hey, Tsubaki. I spoke as though it wasn't important. I get the feeling that you're becoming more ordinary.
そうかな。
Yeah, but it's not a bad thing. What I meant was she's becoming more normal. Without that strange naivete, it was actually easier to communicate with her. I felt that Tsubaki and I were growing closer.
変かな。
Tsubaki asked uneasily. No, it's actually for the better. Keep it up, we'll have some good times yet. Tsubaki smiled brightly in relief.
遊ぼう。いやいや、なんか二人で盛り上がってるけど、主催は僕だから。
Time flies, and class is ended in the blink of an eye. Quite literally. Boop. Sunset came earlier each day.
じゃあ私一度帰るね。またね。
Tsubaki left before the rest of us.
そういえば自分バイトでした。来ないの？すみません。もっと早くにお誘いいただければ前処したんですが。いや、宇佐美さんももっと早くに断ってよ。
She must be trying to be considerate to Tsubaki.
椿に遠慮してるわけじゃないですよ。
Of course not.
でも椿は心配です。
Worried?
疲れてるみたいですし。だから今日僕が盛り上げてあげるよ。さすが栄一さんです。自分は盛り下げるのは得意なんですが。
Usami played with her long, shaggy hair.
椿のお父さんとかも大丈夫ですかね。
Tsubaki's dad? Why are you worried about her family?
いえ、なんとなくそう思ったんです。
She claimed to be worried, but her face remained as blank as always.
ほら、家族は似るもんじゃないですか。浅井さんみたいにお父さんがすごい方だと息子もすごい人になるじゃないですか。いろんな意味で。
What are you trying to say? This girl has no idea about Gonzo.
だから椿が疲れてると家族もそう、まるで鏡のように元気をなくしていくんじゃないですかね。
Like a reflection in a mirror, you say? This phrase really clung to my mind. So, are your parents as strange as you?
ちっけえな。知らないわけじゃないでしょ。
Why would I know anything about your parents? Christ, Usami's always talking such nonsense. Mirrors? Give me a break.
ではまた。浅井さん、今度お話ししたいことありますので、その時はよろしくお願いします。
What the hell? Just say it now.
いえいえ、たわいもないギャグですので。
Just go to work already. I waved to her as she walked away.
さて、どうするよ。
You're right. A party with only you and me would be...
寒いよマジで。俺とお前とチャーリーとかマジ寒いって。
Looks like we need some girls.
お前友達呼べよ、年上のジョイとか。ほらミキちゃんって子はお前のセフレの。
Miki-chan's not my FWB. That's out of the question. Speaking of which, I haven't talked to Miki in a good while. I wonder what's been going on in that neck of the woods.
じゃあ椿が来るまでナンパしようぜ。お前の財布と俺のスイーツ知識があればどうにでもなるって。
Sounds like a pain in the ass.
んだよ、グズグズしやがって。ほら行くぞ。
Hey, let go of me. We arrived on Central Boulevard. They're really going through with it, huh? Aichi got all fired up as we headed for the thickest part of the crowd.
おい女、
Aichi swished his finger and pointed.
飯食いに行くぞ。
Oh, please. You don't just stand in front of a random girl and say that. As expected, the girl left in a hurry with a disgusted look on her face.
クソが。
Look, Aichi-san.
んだよ、おめえももっとやる気と財布出せよ。
Use your brain.
俺に意見する気かよ。
Your selling point is cuteness. Make use of that potential of yours.
あったよ。
Then again, working the cute angle won't really get you anywhere with skirt chasing.
ねえ、お姉さん。
Aichi found another mark a short while later.
ね、聞いてくれる？僕、手相の勉強してるんだ。ちょっといいかな。
The girl didn't even look at Aichi. Hey kid, what's up with the palm reading?
俺なりの工夫だよ。女は占いとか好きだからな。
This joker's helpless. Or hopeless even, not helpless. My phone suddenly rang. Yes, hello?
あ、浅井くん、ごめん。
It was Tsubaki.
ごめん。ちょっと遅くなりそうなんだ。
Did something come up?
ちょっとひろあきが。
Huh?
いや、構ってほしいみたいで。
Right, Hideaki did mention something like that last night. Then call me later. We'll just find something to do in the meantime.
ごめんね。なるべく急いでいくから。
There's no need to rush. But she hung up as I was about to tell her that.
なんだって？
Tsubaki said she'll be coming a bit later than she said she would. Apparently she has to play with her brother.
んだよ、またあの弟かよ。わがままなガキだぜ。
Look who's talking. All kids are like that.
椿も苦労してんな。遊ぶ暇とかないんだろうな。
You're probably right.
あいつって化粧っ気も全然ねえじゃん。服も毎年似たようなの着てるしさ。ま、そこがちょっと俺ちゃんの中で評価高いわけだけど。
You? A high opinion?
なんつうの、清く正しい感じがするじゃん。貧乏だけど頑張りますみてえな。モデルじゃん。
Is it? I, on the other hand, wasn't so fond of that part of her. That was the Tsubaki from the past.
あー、ナンパ来た。ゲーセンでも行って時間潰そうぜ。
Whatever, I don't care. I'm only watching though. Arcades are only a waste of money. Yeah, video games, who needs those, right? Wait a minute. We decided to wander around Central Boulevard until Tsubaki called.
気づいたらもう10時。
Oh my god. Who knows? Tsubaki still hasn't called.
さすがにお開きにするか。椿には悪いけど。
So much for the party. Fair enough. I'll call her and pass it on.
じゃあ帰るわ。
Sure. Aichi disappeared in an instant. I'll head home soon too, but let's take care of some business first, shall we? It wouldn't hurt to show up at the company either. Top management has been doing a real good job lately, so there hasn't been much need for me to butt in. They've asked for my advice a few times. My advice didn't mean anything, of course. I guess they just wanted to make use of Gonzo's influence. An hour had already passed before Tsubaki called. It's pretty late, you know?
ごめん、今どうしてる？
We gave up a long time ago. I could feel Tsubaki's anxiety even through the phone.
なんだ、そっか。
Come on, we can have a party any day.
浅井くん、明日は？
Huh?
明日空いてない？
What's the matter?
今日の埋め合わせみたいな。
You want to go out again?
それだけじゃなくて、ちょっとお父さんがお話ししたいみたいで。
Your father? Could it be about the land? Alright, I'll come to your house. Would it be okay to come over before noon?
助かるよ。その後ちょっと出かけたりできると嬉しいな。
She's got her heart set on a date with me, apparently. Yeah, sounds good. For some reason, I seem to be relaxing my guard around Tsubaki. I'm starting to believe that it might be alright to tell her about my other side. Not everything, mind you, but perhaps just a little bit wouldn't hurt. It might be an opportunity to get things off my chest and gain someone I can discuss things with. Tsubaki seems to be at my beck and call anyway. I've never liked her until recently, when she started to have an interest in topics that relate to money. Want to eat at a slightly classier restaurant than usual?
連れてってくれるの？
We'll pay Dutch, of course, but yeah, you've got some savings, right?
結構あるよ。今までお金の使い方とか知らなかったから、そういうことも教えてほしいな。
I can teach you quite a few bad things. I replied with a joke. Tsubaki seemed cheerful too.
聞いてくれるかな？ひろあきがさ、さっきやっと眠ってくれてさ。
Is that why you ended up calling so late?
そうなの。私、そういうのばっかりだよ。
Just your luck, huh?
そうかな。クラスでもさ、委員やってるけど、最近なんで私なんだろうって思うの。
This conversation looks like it'll be here for the long haul.
あとさ、お父さんがね。
I sank deeply into conversation with Tsubaki as I made my way home.
これからまた引っ越しの準備だよ。
One sec.
お父さんももっと手伝ってくれればいいのに。
Sorry about that. Tsubaki started complaining. Even her tone changed. I felt like I'd trampled over something precious, but that it only served to tickle my that only served to tickle my sadistic urges. I had tasted for the first time the pleasure that comes from defiling others. The entire sensation felt a bit base. Nevertheless, dragging a pure girl like Tsubaki down to my level left me with an ecstatic grin. That's dark, man. And that's sort of one of the, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about when I we started this Let's Play. And I was saying that this game, kind of dealt with some pretty dark undertones. And it's a very unique way. It's far less conventional than, when you think dark, you think, murder and rape and, these sorts of things. This is just sort of, it's emotional defilement, I guess, kind of the way he put it. It kind of is, because, she doesn't even realize it. And Kyosuke played a part in it, though, of course, the primary reason was Maou. So, kind of interesting, and, the characters in this are just really deep, especially compared to, some of the more lighthearted visual novels you'll find out there, where the characters are often just, soft and sugary and fluffy, and, they don't really have much more substance than that. So, anyway, rant over. Turns out that what Tsubaki's father wanted to talk about wasn't anything important. It was probably just Tsubaki's excuse to call me out. It doesn't bother me or anything, though. It's relatively normal for a girl to use this kind of tactic. Tsubaki, who was dressing up in front of a mirror, probably didn't have a single thought of deceiving me. This is the way it should be. Tsubaki, where did you get that outfit?
通販だよ。最近はインターネットで何でも買えるんだね。すぐ届くし便利だよね。
You didn't know about this before?
興味なかったから、なんだかすごく損してた気分。
I love this music. It's like, oh no! Online, next day delivery! The horrors of the modern world. But anyway. Her expression might be bright, but I get the feeling that it looked a bit haggard as well. Have you written in your diary lately?
全然。書く暇なんてここんところなかったから。
Her eyes were dull, and seemed just a bit empty.
はあ、もう日記なんてやめようかな。今時ないよね。日記が趣味とか。
Is that really how you feel? Personally, when someone says Tsubaki, I immediately jump to that diary of yours. Tsubaki wrinkled her eyebrows.
ねえお姉ちゃん。何ひろあき。かくれんぼしよう。後でね。それよりこれ似合う？
Tsubaki held out her new clothes for her brother to see.
あれ？
Kids sure are frank.
お姉ちゃんは前に僕がいいって言った服が好きなんじゃないの？あのパーカー？あれはもうずっと着てるじゃない？それでお姉ちゃん僕のお友達に貧乏ってあだ名つけられた。で
Poor
もそれ
devil.
でも好きって言ってたよ。どうしたのお姉ちゃん？浅井くんはどう思う？
Tsubaki looked at me with pleading eyes. If I had to choose between one and the other, I'd say the new clothes are a bit more fitting.
そうだよね。
One second here. Sorry, just a text. There's a different air to them. That's a good thing, right? Tsubaki was so happy that her voice was shaking.
よかった。こういうの着ないと浅井くんに恥かかせちゃうもんね。
You don't have to worry about that.
だって浅井くんの私服って高いんでしょ？街で並んで歩いてたら恥ずかしいじゃない？
Now, why would you think that? I tilted my head, trying to read Tsubaki's feelings.
何か変かな？
No, not at all. It's very normal.
よかった。最近ちょっと疲れてるみたいでね。思ったことすぐ言っちゃうことがあるの。変だったら言ってね。
I nodded silently.
ねえお姉ちゃん。
And the messed up thing is, Kyosuke's kind of getting a charge out of all this. The ankle biter was spinning around Tsubaki's knees, as usual.
お父さんに遊んでもらいなさい。だってお父さん引っ越しだもん。
Her father has been packing since morning, apparently.
お姉ちゃんたち、これから出かけるの？
Tsubaki raised her voice.
どこ行くの？僕も行く。ダメだったら、もう。
Tsubaki violently cast aside her brother's hand. For an instant, Hideaki's expression was shocked to the point of fear.
行こう、浅井くん。
Not even giving her brother a second glance, Tsubaki hastily made for the door. I just followed her. Tsubaki was gasping for air with huge gulps. She didn't exactly seem to be in good condition to be going out.
うっかりこれ着てきちゃった。
She touched the coat she usually wears with a dissatisfied look. My excitement for her upcoming excursion dashed. I gazed over at Tsubaki. Is it okay for you to skip out on packing today? Your dad looks like he's working too hard.
いいんだよ。ここんところ私がずっとやってたし。
Still, I can't believe you're finally moving. I did a lazy stretch and looked at the house's ancient exterior. Haven't you lived here all your life?
だったら何？
Uneasy, she answered with a question. Nothing. I was just thinking you might miss some things about this place.
あるにはあるけど。
Sorry about that one. Came out of nowhere. Her words were unclear, and her line of sight flitted about. Her dazed eyes, settled on the front lawn. What is it?
よくあそこで花火したなって。
Ah,
秋になるとね、みんなでお芋焼くの。お父さんが張り切っちゃって火事になりそうだったこともあったの。
you could see how her eyes were so, dull before. Then she breaks out into this smile in her memories. It's like, Tsubaki, you're totally, you're not doing what you want to do, what you really want to do. You're forcing this.
一番下の子がね、初めてハイハイした時、縁側から落っこちちゃってさ、あの時は大騒ぎで、それで。
Her brilliant smile was starting to wither. Hey, Tsubaki. I slowly, gently put my hand on Tsubaki's shoulder. You can make just as many wonderful memories at your new home, you know? I saw the place. It's pretty nice. And it's close to my house, too. Maybe you can invite me to your next family gathering. I've never spent much time with my family, and I have to admit that some nights I wish I could have some warm, hearty home cooking.
浅井くん。
Tsubaki brought her hand to her shoulder and placed her fingers on top of mine. First the kidnapping and now the move. It feels like you've had nothing but tragedy recently. I know that you've been under an increasing amount of stress each day, but it'll get easier from here on out. Just stay positive and focus on what's ahead of you.
浅井くんにそう言われると、なんか元気出るな。
Redness floated to Tsubaki's face, almost like she had a fever. Well then, let's go.
待って、
Suddenly, Tsubaki tilted her head.
浅井くんって。
Hmm?
ごめん。なんだかね、そういう話し方する時の浅井くんって、ちょっと違うなって思ったの。
You're right. I'm different when I'm at school.
そうじゃなくて、なんだろう。
Unexpectedly, she flashed a smile.
犯人みたいな喋り方だなって
Oh man.
思ったの。ごめんね。
Ouch! I laughed along with her. You think I'm Maou too? Don't go joining in Usami's ranks now.
はるちゃんに疑われてるの？ひどいな。浅井くんが犯人なわけないのにね。
Or is there? Yeah, Usami really gives me a headache.
気にしたらダメだよ。私は信じてるからね。浅井くんがいなかったら、ひろあきも帰ってこなかったかもしれないんだし。
I didn't do anything all that incredible. Anyway, it's time we got going.
そうだね。寒いしね。
With matching smiles, we left Tsubaki's home. Are you happy with it?
化粧品なんて初めて買ったよ。
Now you're one step closer to the other girls in our class.
みんなやってるもんね。
Don't get me wrong, I'm not one for heavy makeup either, but I would have at least expected you to cover up the dark circles under your eyes.
ごめんね、そういうの疎くて。
We walked away from the crowd.
あ、ごめん、電話。
Tsubaki's newly bought cell gets a call pretty often.
うん。わかんないよ。うん。
Covering her mouth with her hands and speaking in a low voice, Tsubaki seems very unhappy. What's up?
またうちからお母さんのバッグ知らないかって。そんなの私が知るわけないのに。
Like, I enjoy, the way they play with her emotions. The only thing that seems really fabricated about it is how quickly she changed. But, I appreciate the story it's telling here.
まったく、私がいないと何にもできないんだから。
Are you going home?
まだ平気だよ。
Tsubaki shook her head immediately.
おや、あざいさんじゃないですか。
Hearing Usami's voice approach from behind, I turned around.
おやおや、椿も一緒ですか。これは。はるちゃん、どうしたの？
Why am I bumping into you so much? Are you stalking me?
そんないきなり二人して質問してこなくても。自分はバイトの帰りにちょっと駅に寄ってただけです。
The station? Are you going somewhere?
いえいえ、証拠でもないかなと。
Evidence? This girl sure knows how to pique my interest, whether she knows she's doing it or not.
いえいえ、デート中に話すようなことでもありませんです。浅井くん、行こう。
Just a minute. Usami, have you figured out who the kidnapper is?
いいえ、全く。
She stated that without changing her expression in the least. Didn't you say you had something to tell me yesterday?
言いましたっけ？
You.
なんか口走りましたね、自分。
Just come out and say it already. Usami spoke casually, with a perfect poker face.
はい、では言います。あなたが魔王です、浅井さん。
She actually said it. Her words were utterly insane. The right side of my face stiffened.
あなたは前もって駅のコインロッカーの鍵を複製しておいたんです。
What did you say?
あの身代金をめぐる追走劇の中で、駅のコインロッカーに身代金が収められたことがありました。その時、私はあなたに不審な人物が来ないかどうか見張っておいてほしいと頼みましたね。
Ah, right. Wasn't Tsubaki running around the streets with the key? Usami nodded and continued.
あなたは前もって用意しておいたコインロッカーの鍵を使い、
Stop joking around. Copy the key? Me? When?
あなたは事件当日、仕事があると言って行方をくらましていましたよね。鍵の複製なんて、その辺のお店で30分もあればやってもらえます。
I have no memory of doing that.
いや、盲点を突かれました。トリックそのものは単純ですが、まさか信用していた浅井さんこそが犯人だったなんて。
I could say nothing against that. Even though I'm definitely not the culprit, I couldn't think of anything in the moment to check Usami's logic.
はるちゃん、もういいよ。事件のことはもうはるちゃんには関係ないでしょ。
Looks like Tsubaki is still on my side.
なんかやだよ、はるちゃん。いろいろ手伝ってくれたのはわかるけど、結局はるちゃんは何も解決してくれなかったじゃない。
Usami's poker face still stood strong.
せっかくこうして嫌なことを忘れようとして遊んでるのに。
Exactly. Let's get out of here. I urged Tsubaki while shaking my head slightly. I'm feeling dizzy. Hey Usami, I'll forget about what you said just now.
そうっすか。ありがとうございます。では最後に一つだけ。はるちゃん、もし私の言ったことに心当たりがあるのなら、 すぐに自首してください。警察はすぐに証拠を挙げるでしょう。近場の鍵屋さんを徹底的に洗うでしょうし、駅には監視カメラもあるんです。
Those police you mentioned, have they even made a move yet?
ええ。ですから残念で仕方がないんです。
Then there's nothing to discuss here. I took Tsubaki's hand.
じゃあね、はるちゃん。
What an awkward encounter. Usami nodded slightly and left.
気にしないでね、浅井くん。
Usami hasn't given it up yet? Still, as long as the police aren't informed, everything will be fine. Fine. Yeah. Huh? What exactly will be fine? I pondered this thought deeply. Nah, I'm overthinking things. I just don't want the police to find out about the connections between the Azai Corporation and the Sowa Alliance. I can't possibly be Maou. Actually, that reminds me. I haven't gone to Dr. Akimoto's clinic lately.
どうしたの？大丈夫。私はたとえ浅井くんが魔王でもいいよ。
Whoa. That was probably a joke, but I can't bring myself to laugh.
さあ、ご飯食べに行こう。
She held out her hand again. Tsubaki is very obedient to me. I should shake all this off and try to enjoy being with her. And this episode is stupidly long, so that is where I'm gonna have to,
すっごい楽しかった。
It was fun, Tsubaki, but that's where I've got to end the episode. So, as always, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you're enjoying it, and we'll see you all next time.